slap, mate. People go, what do you clap for? I go, well, at least I know then that's where I'm coming in. Yeah, it's like my click. Yeah. G'day, you're with Spider on Baditude Rock and Roll. Today we're at A Sharp Studios up in Riverwood, Sydney. Great place. Done a lot of work here myself. And we're with Matty Stewart. How are you, mate?
Very good, mate. How are you?
Jesus, you're a rock legend, brother. Matty is one of the, when I first met him, he was one of the engineers here, and now he is one of the producers here. Correct?
Correct,
yeah. So how long have you been doing this for, mate?
I've been at A Sharp for 5 years, I think.
Okay.
And yeah, I was doing it for about 3 or 4 years before that in other studios and with other people. So 7 or 8 years all up, I think.
Excellent stuff. This guy's got a great mind for music. I remember watching him mucking around with all the mixer and everything, and was just doing some wondrous things, mate. You're like a wizard on it, you know. Hence, I'm in here at the moment with our band Vanquished, doing our first EP, and yeah, good choice of producer, mate. Mate, the main reason for this interview is I always wanted to do one at A Sharp, but more so just to give bands, you know, a bit of a heads up on what to expect when you come into the studio, like at this level, preparation, all that type of stuff. What's some advice you can give?
Yeah, preparation's a huge one. The more you can obviously practice your songs, the better. But more so recording, even if it's just a phone recording in the middle of the room and listening back. And
so we're talking a demo?
We're talking a demo, a really simple demo. But just some way that that the band can listen back to their jam, their rehearsal, and kind of think of things like kick and bass relationship, you know, chords, the kind of things that eventually become apparent in the studio. Because usually, like, you're in the room playing together and it's fun and it's awesome, and sometimes those details get missed a little bit, and then you find you're coming to the studio and someone like me will say, what's happening with the kick and bass pattern there? Have you guys thought about that? And if you haven't, then it's fine, but there's just another thing that we might want to focus on, which takes time. So if you can kind of nut those things out before you come in, it'll save you a lot of time and a lot of energy. Really. Yeah,
and Matt's a good compromiser, and he's really good at how he'll express that to you as a band from the producers. There are producers out there that will tell you, no, that's how we're doing it, and that's it, full stop. And it's a little bit weird sometimes, but mostly all the time they've got the right idea because they've got the ear for it. So always listen to your producers. And again, with the demos, they don't have to be extravagant. No. As you said, you can do them on your phone. You can do them, you know, in the toilet. You know, like
it really doesn't matter. You know, as long as there are different levels of it, I suppose. Like some producers, and I've done this lots in the past, might want to come to a rehearsal and do like a proper pre-production type thing. You might even, I've done it in the past where the first sort of 2 or 3 days of a long session might be the pre-production days. So there are different levels of it, but also all the time I'm totally happy to just have a phone recording so I can get a vibe. I can, you know, as long as it's eligible enough. And it all depends on how involved you want your engineer to be. If you want them to because the line's a little blurred these days, so communicating whether you want the person like me to be a producer is important. If you want me to just be an engineer and kind of weigh in here and there,
just record,
that's cool. But I think sort of making sure that line is clear with whoever you're working with is important, because sometimes I might find that I'll have an idea, but I don't want to say anything because we haven't spoken about it, and it's not my place to weigh in where I'm not needed. But I know a lot of bands actually really appreciate that. So discussing that kind of stuff's good.
Again, you know, it's something that you know, if you know what you're doing, that's all fine. But it's great to have that other ear. You know, have that other ear to listen to it and go, maybe, you know, suggest this and what have you. Generally, as I said, most of the time it comes out great. One of the most important things, we were talking about it before, is especially for bands that are coming in here for the first time and all that, is your setup time. Always consider this. It's at this level, you know, it can be costly, it can be whatever. You know, I'm not putting you off at all to pay for your product, but the setup.
Yeah, there's a lot of time that goes into, the more time that you spend setting up, and when I say setting up, I mean not just sort of putting mics up, but really making sure you're getting the right tones for your drums, and, you know, is the snare drum the right one for the song? Are the cymbals the right tones? Should they be darker, brighter?
Yeah.
All of that kind of stuff. You need to factor in time to spend there, because that, it's like a ripple effect, right? If you get it right from the source, from the actual instrument, you know, even the changing guitars, whatever it is, if you spend time there, then everything starts to fall into place. Yeah. A common thing is like, oh, we've only got so long to do this much, so let's just set up and start going and fix it later, and that's never worked out.
It's going to cost you the time later on.
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly. Yeah.
And look, when you do the product, you know, don't go out. A good friend of mine, Jack the Bear down that does mastering, we actually did an interview and we were talking about that. You know, get the product good, you know, and so you never got regrets later on. There's nothing worse than having an album and going, oh, I wish I'd sang it that way, or I wish I did it. Do your demos, do all that. Spend your time with your setups. We spent a lot of time with the toms and the snare yesterday, taping and everything, just to get that right sound, you know. And we never said a word. It's just how it's got to be. Also, like with that, and don't forget, this is not about these guys milking it for the money. This is about the product. You know, their name's on this product. It's coming from their studio. It's your product. Do it great. Do it well. And so you've got no regrets later on. And have a great product. Anxiety, mate. A lot of anxiety in the studio.
Yeah. Especially when you're here. It's a really exciting thing to do, right? These are your babies, these songs, and now you're coming in to put them down, and this is what they're going to sound like forever. So it's a big deal. There's lots of, it's good energy, it's excitement, but that can sometimes translate into that a little bit of a stressed type feeling. Yeah, my advice would be to just kind of roll with it. Understand that, you know, your first few takes might be like 10 BPM too fast. Yeah. But to try and relax and try and feel as comfortable as possible. It is a bit weird when there's mics everywhere and you're wearing headphones and you know, the producer is asking you to do something that you hadn't thought of yet. Yeah. But yeah, just to try and relax and have fun. Like, it's just got to be fun.
It will take it out of you when you are. And again, it's just about the preparation. If you're coming here for the first time, even maybe the second time might have went great the first time. But when you're playing the same song over and over and you're not getting it right, you know, it plays with your head, and it's not just physical. In your mind, it's very, very draining, you know, and obviously that causes a little bit of a stress on that. This is all fun. This is rock and roll, you know. And at the end of the day, as we did yesterday, you know, we're at it for 12 hours, you know, and then at the end of the day, it's like you've done a workout. It was great. You feel good. You're going home, big smile on your face, you know. Yeah. So look, mate, Matty, it's good to be working with you again, mate.
Always.
You're a good man. Yeah. A Sharp Studios up at Riverwood. This is great stuff. Get on the Matty and the guys and that here. Richard, if you're watching, hello, mate, overseas. Get your ass back here. And we love you. Spider and Matty, Baditude, rock and roll.